So I personally, as a president, I'd be in favor of saying, going forward, I'd like it to be no more than 15%. Does that mean it's going to increase by 15%? No, that's not what we're saying. And I think if you look back, Bob had sent out maybe like the last 10 years of assessment numbers. No time did we get 50%. I think maybe in 2018, when we did the first $1 million and the $150 jump, I want to say it was like 38-ish, 37-ish, something like that. Okay, but we've never been 50, praise God. But I think in looking at those numbers, a 15% limit would encompass all of those years except for the 2 that we had the $1 million loan. So as a president, that's what I would like to suggest. I'm also a member of the legal committee, but so be it. So that's a number. Well, if does anyone, Lisa?
So the concept you just brought up, that if we had hurricanes and something happened, whatever. So those are the exceptions. So I don't feel like we need to set this just in case of exceptions, because if something really bad happened, we have insurance or we do an assessment. So as far, because of the report he's doing. So, in my opinion is that all of our CCRs say 2% plus. And so this next year, it's only 3, so we're only talking 5. So if we keep it around what most of our CCRs all say, 5%, 6%, and then if something happens, then we do a special assessment. That way then, we don't have to put it up high just because. Is my thought.
As I understand it, this percentage that we're talking about deals with budgetary issues. It doesn't deal with extraordinary issues.
Correct.
We can always come back and do special assessments to cover special problems.
Correct.
But if you're looking at a ceiling to cover budget issues, I think putting a smaller ceiling on it encourages discipline among the board and to keep the costs as low as they can and still maintain the standard of living in this community. But I understand it has nothing to do with special situations. Those are special assessments.
That is correct. That is correct. And again, if we decide to do nothing, it stays at 50. Okay?
And how many sitting around the table want a special assessment?
No, thank you.
So the AOI is just setting the maximum limit of what the assessment can be raised every year. And within my community, I had 3 homeowners who shared some of the same sentiment as others have said around here. It should be very low. And why are they doing this to us? Well, we are them. It's the 14 presidents. It's the TAC committee. You know, attend the TAC committee if you don't know what's going on with the budget, and sit in on the TAC committee. Nothing's stopping you from doing that. Join the TAC committee if you have spaces on it. I've been to every corner of this property, as Lisa alluded to with the reserve study, and I know what all the stuff is that's going to cost you money to either repair or replace. And I sought the expert advice of the various committee chairs to identify when they think it's going to need repair or replacement. So there are no real surprises, but inflation, cost of insurance, cost of other things going on, another pandemic, who knows? So you want to have it low, but you don't want to have it so low that you cause a special assessment. And that, whatever that number turns out to be, it doesn't get pulled out of some secret cabal. It comes out of these 14 people sitting around the table who represent 3,000 something people in the community. So it's my 2 cents.
Anybody else want to comment? Yes?
Thank you very much. On behalf of Enclave HOA, I make a motion, please, to accept this. And with a 15% maximum.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have a discussion on the 15% accept the document. What is your motion to get together? Her motion is together.
I object to voting on these two issues together. I think they ought to be separate. The nature of them is separate, the intent of them is separate, and the consequences of them is separate. I think they ought to be voted on separately. I do support the 15%.
That's right.
Getting back to your objection, would you, your objection is number two, I take it. And that's what I'm just clarifying, that's what your objection. If a sentence was added to number two that the board of directors may, that the board of directors has the authority to waive any penalty imposed. Okay. And then your objection, if we just eliminated the words where it says the association may bring an action, and then it says at law or an equity or both, we just eliminated at law or an equity or both, and we just say the association may bring an action against a member to recover any assessment of this doing, that satisfy your, okay, I make a motion.
I withdraw my motion. I will amend my motion. Thank you very much to Mr. Wood.
If we do both of those, you want to vote still separately, Mr. Daniels? Is that better? What? Huh? Say that slower.
There's discussion as to discrepancies. If you give me just a second. One gentleman said 15%, Lisa is suggesting 10. That's what the comment was, please.
Or would anybody support 12 and a half?
Cut the baby.
Yeah.
Just cut it to
So let's
10.
see, Ms. Berger, you're up. It's your amendment, your motion.
We'll vote separately. I'll amend my motion and vote separately. How's that? 15 for one, and then Mr. Wood is writing down.
Your second is the 15th, so. It's okay, that's fine. Is there any discussion on the amended? Is there any discussion on the, we have a motion in a second. We can, okay, so there's no discussion on that motion and that second for the 15th. Okay, we're gonna vote, we're gonna voice vote. So we're voting on this article, this part of the article with 15% though. That's what we're voting
And
on.
I'm done. We'll go take my next slide, please.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Stay there, please. We got another amendment. You're still in charge.
Can I vote from here?
Yes, you can. Okay, so we are voting on 15%, number one.
The patio.
No.
Cypress Pond.
What
Eagle
is
Pond. Eagle Pond. Enclave. Yes. Fairway.
Yes.
Garden patio. Yes. Bob Villas. Yes. Lethal Village. Oak Grove. Palmacia. Plantations. Sand Hill Lane. Watch. Villas on the Green.
The motion fails. does not reach 75%. It was one, count the yeses. It's 9 yeses, 3 noes, and 1 abstention, so it does not reach the 75. Does not reach, so it fails. Mr. Sartor, you have something?
I think it should go back within the next month. 7%.
Why don't you make the motion?
I make a motion, the percentage be 12.5.
Any discussion on 12 and a half? On the board. We have a motion, second for 12 and a half. Okay, we will go that again at 12 and a half. Ready? We ready to vote?
Club Patio,
No.
Cypress Pond, Eagle Pond,
Yes.
Enclave, Fairway Patio,
Yes.
Garden Patio, Rock Villas, Greenfield Village, Oak Grove, Palmacia, Plantations, Sand Hill Lane, Villas on the Green.
12 yeses, 1 no, the motion passes at 12.5%. Okay, so now we've got number 2. We have new language.
Motion would be to accept number 2 with the following changes. There would be a sentence added to the end of 5.5 that would say, the board of directors shall have the authority to waive any penalty imposed by Article 5, Section 5.5. Okay? And then also, in the second sentence, and then the second amendment would be, in the second sentence, the words would be deleted, at law or in equity or both. Okay? That's the motion.
So in reading that, for those of you that can't see what I can see, the association may bring an action against a member to recover any assessment that is delinquent, plus interest costs, yada, yada, yada. But it doesn't say yada, yada, yada. Okay.
And I second
Wanted
the
to make
motion. Mr. Wood.
Any
Oh, she's
discussion
a
on that
dandy.
motion? Yes, sir.
Yes.
As stated by Mr. Wood. Okay, let's vote.
Patio. Cypress Pond. Eagle Pond. Enclave. Fairway Patio. Garden Patio. Los Villas. Greenfield Village. Oak Grove. Palmacia. Plantations. Sand Hill Lane. And Villas on the Green.
Passes 13-0. Thank you very much. Rick, your.
Thank you all.
Next slide, Rick, when you get there, please. Don't run. The next item on the agenda is Mr. Tim Weiss, the chairman of the nominating committee, offering the slate of officers for 2024.
I'm Tim Weiss, volunteered for this position for the election of officers for 2024. My committee considered everything that was brought to our attention. We have, our presentation to you folks is President Bob Shade, Vice President Rick Reese, Treasurer Scott Shira, and Secretary Pam Comstock. Scott.
Is there a motion to accept the slate of officers for 2024? Mr. Daniels made a motion. We had a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second. Lisa, you have a question?
So, how did we come up with this? Did we have?
You didn't hear any of it.
And then one other person sought one of the positions and then withdrew his name as for consideration. Those are the only people that came forward. But that's my understanding, right, Mr. Weiss? That one person came forward, you interviewed, and that person withdrew.
Yes, that's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
I was good.
He solicited at that meeting?
Highly sought after positions. Any other questions?
Is it the same board members?
Yes.
No change.
It's not board members, it's officers. They're non-voting, non-paid volunteers. Any other questions?
This process happens annually, so those of you that feel slighted because you want to consider, remember this next September. Be sure to get your name put in the hat.
Yes.
Can I say something since I'm a vice president, just not the whole thing?
Come on up to Mr. Weiss, please.
Why don't we change how we actually do this? Instead of leaving it up to the board, each of you, to go out and solicit the people that live in your community to take one of these volunteer, highly desirable positions, why doesn't the CCA or why doesn't the board elect a budget to mail a postcard to everybody that lives here or does something to let them know when the election is, what these officer positions are and what the responsibilities are? Because evidently, if only one person's raising their hand, there's not enough people that know that this is happening. I've been here for 7 years. It's been the same. Nobody puts their name out there. How many people in your neighborhood, Linda, did you go around and ask if they wanted to be president of this? Oh yeah, there is. Trey Boatman put his name in the hat. He sure did, ma'am. He sure did. No, he put it in 5 days ago. No, he put it in 5 days ago.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, Jason.
He put it in 5 days ago. He never got a phone call.
Order, guys.
I'm just telling you. Yeah, you got it today. You got it today because I asked Trey to come. She got it today because I was going to put Trey's name in, which I did with Tim several days ago. I put his name in several days ago. I asked Trey, he needed to contact Linda, his president, because he sits as a director on her board, to have her recommend him instead of another vice president from another HOA. So out of respect for you, Linda, I asked him to contact you today because I knew the meeting was tonight, because I knew Mr. Weiss didn't contact him about being the president of the CCA. So all I'm standing here and asking the board is, all of you, you as a president, is solicit the residents of this community differently if you want to change these officers. Instead of expecting them to come up to a meeting and ask this gentleman to consider them on one night out of 365 days of the year. That's all I'm saying.
Jason, that was incorrect what you just said. You called me. I got the floor. I got the floor. You called me and asked me who the nominees were, and you thought that our recommendation should be put out ahead of time before the vote. And I checked on that, and that was a good idea. So that's what we did. And then then it came out, and you called me again and said, you sent me a text and said, call Trey Boatman. We don't go after people. They gotta put their name in the hat. And that's in the bylaws, and if you wanna change it, amend it. But you did not state that correctly.
Because I texted you 5 days
Okay,
before
that's enough.
that email was sent, okay?
Okay, that's.
Yeah, I did.
Yes, you gotta call for a vote.
I did.
Call for a vote. Do we have a question to share? We're gonna call the question. First, board members, are there any nominations from the board? Or we're gonna close the nomination. Do I have a vote or a motion to close the nomination? Okay, we don't do that. Okay, let's go vote. Officers.
Bob Patio?
It's a moot point, yes.
It's what?
It's a moot point.
Cypress Farms?
Yes.
Eagle Palm?
Yes.
Enclave?
No.
Fairway Patio?
Yes.
Garden Patio? Golf Villas? Greenfield Village? Oak Grove? Palmacia? Plantations?
Yes.
Sand Hill Lane?
Yes.
Villas on the Green?
Passes 12-1. Thank you. Next slide, please. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate you doing your committee job.
Trying to get some good news.
Yeah, Veterans Memorial, Chuck. Chuck, address. Rick will move the.
Thanks. That's a great act to follow. Some of you, I'm Chuck Giorgio, I'm president of Sand Hill, but I'm here tonight before you as a homeowner who is a veteran and lives within the community, of course. Some of you know for a while I've been exploring the idea of getting a Veterans Memorial established within our community. The whys, next slide. The whys are pretty obvious. We want a way to represent our veterans, past and present. And I thought it would also be a way to increase the number of social interactions we have so that when we have events, national holidays, we have a memorial that we could enlist any number of the military services around us. I've already have been talking, thanks a lot for Steve Hildman with the Knights of Columbus. He's given me all kinds of contacts, and he's also agreed to help with establishing. We already have the crane. You know, if this goes forward, and I'll explain that in a second. I already have the crane lined up to put the stone in place. So that's how much of a help Steve was. Next slide. So I released a short 5-question survey to all the presidents. I did not have the vice president's email addresses, so I'm hoping the president's got it to everyone. Would you like to see a Veterans Memorial? Would you support being on the committee to help make it happen? Would you be willing to donate to it? And then, of course, are you a veteran? Because I wanted to get a sense of the number of veterans that we have within the community. Bob will be putting a notice in the newsletter coming out December 1st. That'll have a link to the survey. And for the presidents, and if I have some extra, I'll pass them out to anybody here. I've got a QR code. Scan it with your phone. You can respond to the 5-question survey in about 2 seconds. Next slide. So what might it look like? You know, there everybody in the room has seen a Veterans Memorial, at least one. So they're different sizes, and I'll show you some pictures here in a second. We also want to include a flagpole, and I've been doing some research into that. The next slide, please. This is the Veterans Memorial at Polo Park West. The idea really came to me when I went up with my wife to an estate sale in Polo Park West and drove by the clubhouse, and I saw the memorial there, and I was pretty amazed. It's pretty big. They have 8 flags, even though he told me the county supposedly only allows you to have 3. But next slide. This is one, I came down from Baltimore, many of you know. This is one they built in Ithaca, Maryland. It's not too far from the BWI airport. And there'll be another picture of that in a second. Next slide. The one on the right is the front side of the one in Ithaca, Maryland. The one on the left is another large one, example. Next slide. Here's some examples of medium ones. Different materials. In fact, Steve Hilpin has been responsible for putting in 7 different Purple Heart memorials. Not just veterans, but Purple Hearts, to include one in Auburndale and one in Lakeland, I think. And they used a red Indian marble. So I don't have any examples of the red Indian marble, but you get the idea. This is a medium-sized one. Next slide. And then here's a couple examples of smaller ones. So when we get to committee together, we'll come up with some recommendations, based on the budget that we come up with. But I will tell you, I'm not looking to build a large one. I think somewhere between a small and a medium one would be enough for us to do the proper honors on the appropriate national holidays. Next slide. This is the proposed location. It's behind the clubhouse, out in the grassy area there. The walkways are just for illustration. We're not sure yet the exact placement, whether we'll have walkways and how many walkways, but that was just given as an example of where we put it. Most of the events that we do here, we do in the back of the clubhouse. We don't do them in the parking lot. I did have an idea to put it out in front, not far from the cart barn, but it doesn't make sense to do it out front because you don't want 200 people standing in the driveway while you're doing a ceremony. Next slide. How do we fund it? No CCA funds. I'm not going to come and ask for money to build this. We'll raise it through asking the vendors and individuals that we have within our Cypresswood community. In fact, I'll be leaning on Bob a little bit and the amenities committee and other committees to reach out to the vendors that we pay money to do work, and we'll squeeze their pockets a little bit to help support what I hope everybody agrees is an extremely good cause. Next slide. So this is just a quick project plan. I'm a project manager by trade, so I threw something quickly together. We've already checked off one of these, engaging support and approval from Mr. John Wood. In fact, he suggested the location, and I quickly apologize for picking the wrong one to begin with. But, so we have a lot of work ahead of us. If you want to see one of these being made right now, stop by the Dundee Post Office. They're building one out there. That one's costing them about $41,000. I'm hoping to do it for about $20,000-$25,000. So we're not looking for an extravagant operation here. I'm looking to beg on the kindness of individuals to help us with things. We will save a lot of money by not having to remove the vegetation from the location I was looking at. So we're starting with a nice green grassy area, which is saving a lot of time and money. Next slide. So far I've gotten 66 respondents. I do know some of the presidents, you probably still need to get the message out to your homeowners, and I please ask you to do so. And again, I'll give you this. And if you email me, I'll send you this electronically, that if you want to share it electronically, or I'll resend the same email. I also have a paper form. I know we have some residents that don't do internet. I have one in my community. And so I've got a paper form that you can just ask them, check the boxes, and call me and I'll go pick it up, or fax it to me. I believe I put my fax number in that email too. But out of the 64 responses, 66 responses right now, 22% of them are veterans. 66 are in favor. It's a 2-to-1 in favor of us doing this. I've got 10 volunteers for the committee already. And 33 out, about half of the people that responded to the survey said they would help financially. So this is looking pretty good. I don't need any specific action from the board tonight. I'll wait until the January meeting, and then I'll just ask for a motion of spiritual support, I guess, to make this happen. And that's it. Yes, they did.
My question was, people, you said you got 66 responses to the survey. There were 23 people that responded, no, I don't want a memorial.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Bob's like, no, don't take his money. Yeah, right. I am putting that to, I've been in touch with a couple of brick companies, and the brick companies, if any of you have had this experience, they will actually set up a website. You go to the website, you say, I want to buy this brick. You fill in what you want on the brick, you pay your money to them, and then they give us all the money. I'm going to end up taking the money from you.
You're not gonna do the brick?
But I want to set up a separate savings account so that I can put all the money in there and have complete transparency. I'll probably have someone else on the committee handle the money so that there's a separation of duties between me and the dollars. And if you're volunteering to do that, I'll take your name and number right now. Can I take questions from the audience? Yes, John. It will be, and that's, no, it's on John Wood property, so it's part of the amenities. Yes, sir, in the back.
Question, I know it's early, but who's gonna take care of the flags? If it's a proper memorial, flags go up at sunrise, come down at sunset, any inclement weather, especially being a very, memorial for veterans, it needs to be done.
As a retired Navy Master Chief, I'm no stranger to flags and flag etiquette.
Well, you get to take care
It's
of
24, if there's a light, it's 24 hours.
Yes.
You need a light.
And,
Yes.
So you need a light,
Right.
24 hours.
and as the gentleman alluded to, we are gonna put an LED light at the top of the pole. And I'm not going out, if you've seen the pole at Dwyer Kia, across from the Lake Wales Mall, you know, it's like 1,000 feet high, right? We're not doing that. We're gonna get, I've been looking at pole heights, we're probably gonna get one about 25 foot telescoping, so we can lower it if we need to take the flag off, or to replace the light if we need to, plus if a hurricane comes by, we'll take the flag down. I will not put the burden on Bob to take care of the flag. That's what the purpose of that, you know, we're gonna be forming a, you know, still gotta propose it to the board, and this is what I was gonna, let me finish saying something before I move on with that. So I don't need any motions or votes tonight or anything, but in January, I'll have a complete picture of the survey, and I will ask for permission to start a permanent veterans committee with the people that agree to be on it. So that will be the committee that, and I'm hoping to have some of you participate to help with those kind of things, like the gentleman in the back already volunteered to help take care of the flag. Of course, he's not listening, so he doesn't know what I just said. What's your name, sir? What's your name?
Oh, I can't volunteer, I gotta go to work.
I have 2 clients that bill almost 200 hours a month, so
I'm on a ship for 21 days straight as the captain.
as a
So
captain,
I cannot miss going to do
you have an
that.
XO?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta pay for my flight?
The point is, I'm making light of this, but the point is that we're gonna have a committee to take care of the flag.
That's all I want.
And if you ever see the flag in a material condition that's not suitable, you gotta let me know.
That's all I
Or let
want.
Bob know, and Bob will let me know.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes,
I'll volunteer. I had put in a survey already. I have a son that's a vet, so 2 sons.
thank them for their service for
But
me.
yeah, I'll volunteer. I worked at banks for 25 years.
Okay, I'll get, afterwards, come up to me and let me know who you are, so, because you filled out your information in the survey, right?
I did.
So just tell me who you are and I'll make sure I point that out. Any other questions?
Thank you, Chuck. One more question.
John? For you.
Bob, who will own the sign that the news of the resident is paying for?
Let me reiterate, can you hear me in the back? The dues that all homeowners pay on this community will not pay for a single brick or anything in this memorial. We're gonna raise the funds separately through individual or corporate donors.
That's fair.
My question was to Bob.
It was to Bob, but I already answered it a while back, and so I figured I'd answer it again.
You didn't tell me who owns the sign, Chuck. Who owns the sign, Chuck?
Yes, Mr. Daniels?
No, the sign
I
that's.
have a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.